This is episode 6 in Ready to Homeschool 6-month countdown. Today we're going to be talking about writing goals for your child, personal goals for your child. It might seem a little early because we still haven't talked about homeschooling a whole lot, but we are talking about the entire child, the whole child, not the academics necessarily, although that might be a piece of it, but thinking about your child as a whole and their character and who they're developing into and what their interests are. That's what we're focusing on today. I wanted to read Colossians 1, 9, and 10. It's important that you do this for your child because they are not old enough to discern what God is calling them to yet. But God is going to give you, as the mother, and your husband, father, either and a lot of insight into who your child is becoming if you will watch and listen and use the clues that He's provided in that child. Colossians 1, 9, and 10 says, "For this reason, since the day we heard about you, we have not stopped praying for you and asking God to fill you with the knowledge of His will through all spiritual wisdom and understanding. And we pray this in order that you may live a life worthy of the Lord and may please Him in every way, bearing fruit in every good work, growing in the knowledge of God." So as a parent, we've talked about this, that there's so many different things that you are responsible for and essentially your child's soul. Today we're going to talk a little bit about what you notice about your child and how that helps give you clues to their future. We're going to talk more about this as a family. Episode 17, I have scheduled to talk more about like your family's mission statement and looking at your family as a whole. But someday God is going to call your child out of your home and into some other kind of area of ministry. Maybe when they're 18, maybe when they're 25. We don't really know. But something, He has put the seeds of what He's called that child to do inside your child. And that affects what they're interested in and what their personality is like. And some of that is already marred by sin. And we talked a little bit about that last week, about helping your child learn that they need to be a worshiper of God and not a worshiper of self, and how they need to develop obedience in their life to the call of God. But I'm talking about the things like, are they interested in reading more, or are they more outside? Do they want to be outside more? Are they interested in how things work, like always taking things apart? Or are they more communicating with the people around them? What do they notice? You are becoming a student of your child. As the mother, God gives you insights. So today we're going to be talking about spiritual, well, it doesn't just have to be spiritual, but a spiritual gift checklist, standardized test results, interest inventories, all of those can help you fill out this chart on your child. Ted Tripp's book that we talked about last week suggested making goals for your child, and this is something that I believe Trish Humans in Arkansas first told me about. And she said she doesn't know where she got it, so we're kind of like, she found something, I kind of tweaked it a little bit. If you know where this system came from, please let me know, because I'd love to thank them. It has really helped me. This is included in the handouts that are on my website. If you want to get one, you need to print out one of these for you and each of your kids, probably preschool age and above. It's really hard to do with a baby. And then we're going to be filling it out. So I want you to have both of these that you can look at while I talk so that you can see kind of what I'm talking about. Hopefully you can find some quiet, uninterrupted time to just think about life, reflect, have a personal Bible study, just a day away. You want to have a day with no interruptions, unless somebody will make you dinner. That would be great. But otherwise, just you, a pen, paper, the Bible, just some time away so that you can do some thinking. That doesn't happen very often for us as mothers. I only could do this once every 2 or 3 years, but it was still beneficial to be able to do it. And as the kids have gotten older and I've had a little bit more time to be able to do this activity without them, I've been able to do it more like once a year, and that's still helpful. Okay, I do have the instructions for how to do this also on my website. So if you missed something that I'm talking about here right now, don't panic, because you can go back and reread that. This has several different categories. There's strengths, weaknesses, special interests, talents or skills, desired character traits, general observations, and suggested goals. What I like to do is I like to have one of these for me and each of the kids, and I like to have their name at the top and they're just blank. And then I just ask God to help me to evaluate each of the kids and myself in all of these different categories. The one you're not doing yet is suggested goals. You're not ready for that one down there. But otherwise, just ask, what are my child's strengths? And for yourself too, this is good for yourself. But just as God brings things to mind, just jot on every single piece of paper that's in front of you. I did a sample one, and this is not using any of my children to keep from embarrassing any of them. I just made up a random child with some random characteristics to do this for. So, for example, desired character traits. These are things that you're going to put in this box that you're hoping that they will grow into. And this is true for all children. I mean, you could put down the same exact characteristics for every child that you have, but there's different bents or personalities in your children that you can already tell they're going to need growth in this area, or they're already strong in this area and I hope they continue. So for my sample child, I just put down servant heart, courage, obedience, compassion, persistence. And notice you don't have to just fill out one box at a time. You're kind of jumping around all the pages and all the boxes at the same time. For strengths for this child, I put handwriting, often smiling and cheering others up, sings on key, insightful comments when we discuss stories. But this same fictitious child that we're writing about here has some weaknesses. Math facts, not following through on chores, doesn't save their money, spends it right away. And these are things that you know that if they're left unchecked, these habits are going to hinder them in their future growth. So you're making a note of it just because you want to be able to shore that up as a mom. General observations, these are things that are not necessarily good or bad. It's just something that you notice about your child. So extremely shy, very close with their grandpa, notices the rhythm in songs, and prefers being indoors. So those aren't necessarily strengths or weaknesses. They're just something that I noticed in this fictitious child. And then special interests, talents, and skills. Well, they would like to try ballet and gymnastics. She has trained the dog to do tricks, loves poetry, and makes the best banana bread. So those are things that you notice that they really are good at. They really shine. It's kind of overlaps with strengths. So don't get too worried about like, oh, I put it there and I shouldn't put it there. Don't worry about that. It's not that big a deal. This process should take you probably 30 minutes if you're doing, like I had myself and 6 kids. So I had 7 pieces of paper and 5 boxes, and I was just kind of going through. And if I got stalled, I would just pray for a little bit and ask God to bring something to mind. And so that process takes a while. You don't necessarily need to move on to suggested goals immediately, but it would be good to do it on the same day because God will keep giving you insights into your child and what their personality is like. But your goal then is, once you have all of these different boxes filled in with some ideas of what makes your child tick, what makes them special, what they're struggling with, then you're ready to start honing in on some goals that will help your child in the next few weeks, months, possibly year. Short-term goals, not like lifelong, but just what you could see these things fitting together. So I promise you I did not come up with the suggested goals before I did the other boxes. I could have, but I didn't. I wanted to try to make it so that I was doing this for a sample child and actually coming up with something. So trust me, okay? But what I did is I saw some different ways that these 5 boxes could fit together to help the child develop in certain areas. So I'll just tell them to you. Number 1, ask the grandpa to help her establish good financial habits. Now that's actually tying 2 things together. First of all, she's very close with her grandpa, but we notice that she doesn't save any money. So she needs to learn some financial responsibility, but it might do better if it comes from her grandpa, who she already adores and who probably has some expertise in this area already. And then I even added that maybe this summer she could sell banana bread at the farmer's market and then learn to manage the profits for that. So that's even tying in another one right here with makes the best banana bread. Now this isn't to say that you're going to absolutely 100% follow through on it. You are just writing down a few possibilities that you have seen from the rest of the sheet. Number 2, set a goal of 6 weeks with following through on the chores and then to get to sign up for gymnastics. So that's tying 2 things together. We're noticing that they need some help following through on chores. So let's put a reward to possibly being able to do that, where this is something she really wants to do, is sign up for ballet or gymnastics. So again, you're not promising this, you're just writing on a piece of paper, which you may or may not even show your kid. In fact, if they're younger, I would recommend not showing it to them because it's just going to confuse them. The third one I said is find math facts set to music and listen 3 times a week. Remember, this child loves music. They sing on key, they notice the rhythm in songs, but they need help with math facts. And we know that somewhere out there, somebody has made songs that have the math facts with them. So that's something you could shop for and bring into their life and introduce and help them with their weakness, but using a strength to bring it in. And the last one was to visit a nursing home and interact with the residents, maybe 4 times a summer, and ask if we can bring along the dog or maybe a favorite story to share. Okay, so that was tying in with the child's extremely shy. Maybe finding a way to interact with people. The nursing homes are always happy to have kids in when it's not COVID. And if she really likes stories, that's something that she could bring along, or she's taught her dog to do tricks. So if the nursing home would allow the dog to come in, that's a natural way to overcome shyness and just interact with people very casually. Now, these are all things that came from doing a piece of paper that outlines different things that you notice about your child. Yes, these could possibly have happened without sitting down and doing this whole process. I've always appreciated the days that I've been able to do this and the insights God has given me into my children and how I can incorporate that into the next few weeks and months as I plan out. I don't know if it works for everybody. It's always been a good use of my time. I can't promise you that it will be a good use of your time, but if you get half a day of quiet anyways, I think it's worth a try. Don't make it all about academics. Academics is one part, but there's a lot of different things that go into your child and their personality. I do think that by the time they become teenagers, you should share these ideas with them and challenge them to start taking over the reins for themselves. Teenagers need to learn how to be independent and set their own goals. They would benefit from having an honest conversation with you, depending on what your relationship is like. If all they see is nitpicking, then they're not going to welcome another chance to talk over goals in life with you. And I would say definitely share these insights with your husband, depending on what involvement he has with the kids. If you are the husband, share these insights with your wife, or maybe plan to do part of this exercise together as a couple, if that's possible. Just depending on what your relationship is already like and the parenting dynamics that you have going on, this could be helpful to work on together, or it could be helpful to work on and then bring the conversation up later. I think that's all I have for this. If you try it, let me know what you think. Remember that in week 9, we're discussing For the Children's Sake. If you need a copy of that, you can use the link in the comments below. As an Amazon affiliate, I will get a few pennies. Thank you very much. Enjoy your week.